Nqobile Madlala was monitoring the court proceedings today and joins me in studio with just some updates and a little bit more. I mean, the state's case here, Nqobile, good afternoon to you, is ultimately that there's a key reason why they should not be getting bail. They're wanted for the same crimes elsewhere, or similar crimes at least elsewhere, and ultimately they provide a massive flight risk as well. Detail what happened in court for us, please.
Well, I can tell you that defense was very clear that they were not flight risk. In fact, they were asking why on earth will they be flight risk if they are wanted in so many countries. And so they've used that in their favor, saying that it's not possible that they could actually leave the country. But also, they've also explained that the money that was said to be found in their household, they're saying it's not actually the amounts that was said by the authorities. In fact, they've said it's less than 500,000 rand, which they have argued, saying that there's no need for the case of money laundering, which is why they are arguing then that it's not Schedule 5 case. These are not serious crimes, which is very interesting because you're in a country that is struggling currently with femicide, struggling with GBV as well, and they're saying a case like this is not actually that important. And at the same time, they've argued that currently the state doesn't have enough evidence. They've said that basically the statements that was put forward does not make any sense, and there's no evidence before the court, basically, to say that these two were such high risk that they would run away and that they basically would go back into their business. Now,
I know none of us are lawyers. We have to admit that right from the onset. None of us are lawyers. We're not judges. We're not prosecutors. None of that. But 10 million images and videos of child sexual abuse found in the house then of Darren Wilken. You're going to tell us we don't have enough evidence? That in itself speaks a few volumes. What was the defense trying to say with regards to that? Saying, well, is there a need for them to actually be going through with this? Because ultimately these people will still be here and would like to then clear their name, because that's ultimately the aim here, isn't it?
Yeah, that is the aim. In fact, that's why the prosecutor was saying that these two just need they just need basically a cell phone, and they just need internet, and they can access everything. At this point, we know that the states are still investigating how much money there is out there. They're saying that there potentially could be various cryptocurrency accounts, which they can't just waltz in and said, please freeze the account. They have to know where it is. We know that, and this came from defense as well, that the 11 websites were sending money straight into Wilken's account, and he will then send it to the girlfriend, which we already understand. The girlfriend has said that no, she was actually forced into the relationship. Everything of hers was taken away from her, and so she was a victim essentially of this crime, and she was never really in agreement. She started as someone who was working, and unfortunately the relationship went the other way.
That's what I was actually also about to touch on then as well. They're looking, or Tiana Mudli ultimately is now looking to separate herself. The accused number 2 is almost looking to separate herself now from accused number 1 here.
Already did, because remember in the beginning when they appeared and they were represented by one group of lawyers, right? Now they actually have separate people that are representing them, and Tiana Mudli's representatives are saying that she is a victim of the crime, that she didn't do anything. She was basically an administrator of the website, and she was asked to create that website, and she did her job as a web designer and basically got paid for it, and she was totally dependent on Wilkens, and Wilkens basically sent the money. And this will speak to what happened on the scene when they arrested him. It is alleged, of course, that he sent some money to her because they were scared that she didn't have any money and she wouldn't be able to live without him, so she was totally dependent, which was argued, though, by a prosecutor, because they were saying that if this was the case, and part of what they've submitted is that this money was also for her to get lawyers should she be arrested, and they're saying, why would you think you'd be arrested if you didn't do anything?
Yeah. Ultimately very important. Let's talk about the case of media then apparently being at Darren Wilken's home when the initial raid then took place. The state prosecutor, Colleen Ryan, saying that ultimately wasn't true. What was actually put forward and why has it been disputed?
Okay, so the state and the prosecutor has already said that one of the reasons why they don't want to give them bail is because there's an outcry, and already communities have said, bring them out, we'll deal with them directly. And this means that their safety is a great concern now. So why would you let somebody out for them to be hurt in any way? So they're safer with the state. Now defense is arguing that the reason why any community would know so much about this case is because media has practically gone to the house and spoken about it so widely, and so everybody is watching it. And at the same time, they have said that, alleging that basically the police called the media to come into the scene and basically give them the information, which was not true, because the prosecutor did say that the media is independent. How we found out as the media, they don't actually know, but all took place, and the media only came after they had called someone who would represent Wilkins. So, which means in that space and time when they were still seizing and taking things away, media was not there. Media only arrived later on. So then defense is basically saying that we're the reason why everyone's so outraged out there because of this case, but without media, then there would be no reason for it.
Very interesting case. What happens next?
Well, on the 14th of February is the time when they will find out if they do get this bail application. Of course, it's very important for them to go out. As you would know from defense, they're saying that they need to go out and continue with their basically work in however way, not necessarily the work that they do, so they can go out there. However, they come out into a world that may not accept them, because we know that with Mudli already, that they've had gotten kicked out. And the concern right now is that even though they've got verified addresses, there's nothing that's currently linking completely to them because of the fact that they've been kicked out. So they will know if they do get that bail application, but the prosecution has already made it clear that they're against it.
One imagines that it would be a lack of technology, a lack of passports. They'd have to give up their passports and all of that if they were to get bail. All of those conditions would have to be met, and it may indeed be a hefty bail as well, considering what is at stake. Nqobile, thank you so much for that one. I will continue to get the latest on this case, of course, as and when it comes through. Indeed, next week, Friday, being indeed when the judgment on bail